Yay!
Yay. So can you tell us a bit about who you are, your story, and what you do?
So my name is Deb Yager, and I have a company called Yager Training, and we really work with leaders, conscious leaders that want to become business owners, entrepreneurs. We help them leverage their gift to go out and share it with the world and to make this planet a better place, which I think we can all agree right now. Now's the time to stand up and do what you're meant to be doing in this lifetime. And so I'm very, very passionate about giving people the tools to really let go of their stuff that's holding them back and get into action and go out and create what they're meant to be doing. And so my story started back it started when I was very, very young. And I can remember as far back as I could remember that I never really felt good enough, smart enough, and I never believed that I could amount to anything. And I was labeled as having learning disability, being dyslexic, and all the things. And I really struggled with school. And so very quickly, I started getting into the wrong crowd and started using drugs shortly after. Right around the time of 16 years old, I was raped. And then after that, I remember that if I was going to have that taken away from me, then I might as well start hustling men. And so I started hustling the first time I hustled a guy. Was 16, and then I got into stripping at 17, and then you fast forward all the way to 29, 30 years old, in and out of abusive relationships. The way that I would leave a relationship is him going to prison. Got hooked up on crystal meth, did a lot of stuff, and I was in and out of jail for prostitution. And I realized if I didn't change something, I'd probably be in jail or dead. And looking back now, I know that my soul was guiding me this entire time because the right time, the right place, people came into my life. Those two people happen to be certified in the modalities I teach now, which is neurolinguistic programming. And so I enrolled in this training, not even really knowing what it was about, not even knowing what I was going to get out of it. I was just trying to save myself from the prison that I was living in. And very quickly after, my life started to change. I quit all the drugs cold turkey in the training container. They had no idea all the stuff that I was on, and started to love myself for the very first time. I started to believe in myself for the very first time. I started to see beyond what I couldn't see. And a year later, I met my husband in the mastery level, which we call it the Elite Coaching Academy, level 1 and level 2. And we met there, and we fell in love very quickly, and the story writes itself. We decided we wanted to do this for a living because the impact that it's had on my life, but also on his and his own journey. And if you ever have him on the podcast, he'll share his side of it too. But in a nutshell, no matter where you're from, no matter what adversity you've gone through, no matter what skeleton you have in your closet or the most shameful pieces of yourself that you do not want to expose to anyone, from our perspective, all of that stuff is your greatest gift. You know, you've heard it in marketing a lot of times. It'll say that your mess is your message. Well, because I went through all that stuff, because I chose it, I willed it in, I created it. I attracted everything in my life. And I'm so grateful for the ability to come out the other side because I can lean in a conversation and really have compassion and empathy for people. And I played in the dark side. I relished in it. I enjoyed it. And there were parts of it that were amazing. There was also parts of it that were very, very damaging to me. And the cool thing about it is that you can be free of those things. Instead of looking at your past as something that defines you, you look at it as a gift where you get wisdom from. And then you can go out and serve other people at a deeper level. And everybody has a story. It doesn't matter if it's a story like mine or it's a story of struggling with confidence, not speaking up, being a perfectionist, having self-doubt, feeling like a fraud, dealing with family stuff. If you've been raped or abused, it does, like, everybody has a story. Maybe you struggled with addiction, and a lot of people have addiction in different ways, whether it's food or Netflix binging. We all have a story, and we all can recover from that story, and we can all use that story to then transform the world and be empowered around it.
What is NLP and how can it help someone?
So The question would be, first of all, to ask yourself, what would you do, be, and have if you're free of all your programming? And so what I mean by like that is like your fear, your doubt, your anger, your shame, your self-sabotage. What would you do with your life? Because that's what NLP allows you to do. It's a science of the mind and the body. It's a science of how we communicate with ourselves. It's a science of how we communicate with others. And it's also how to reprogram our unconscious mind to create success. Just like I said before, our story is our greatest gift, because anything that we've ever, like anything that's hold us back, you can be free of that. You can be free of it, and then you can walk through it, and then you can go out and create and build the life that you want. So NLP is just a tool that's going to get you there very, very quickly. The other part of it is the communication piece. When you're an effective communicator, especially as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a mom, as a dad, it doesn't matter. Like, you are in sales and you are an influencer. And so when you're proficient and profound with your language, you can have major impact on people around you. You can also enroll other people in your ideas to go get it out in the world. And so it gives you an amazing way, first and foremost, to communicate with yourself and treat yourself with love and care, but then also going out and inspiring and leading others. So that's what NLP does for people. But it's all from the process of modeling.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I like how you say and talk about programming, because it's so, I mean, that phrase, neurons that fire together wire together, it's so true. And it's like we always talk about how we have these stories that we tell ourselves, and like, even if it's not, if like a lot of times it's not true, but we fully and firmly believe it because we've had this story going on in our subconscious mind for so long, over and over again. So I love that you guys help to reprogram that and like kind of rewire someone's brain.
Yeah, Joe Dispenza said it best: is nerve cells that fire together wire together. And the thing is that the more that we resonate with fear or self-doubt, that becomes stronger in neurology. So what NLP does is breaks up the old neural pathways and gives a new way of being, doing, and having. And once you actually walk through the threshold, reprogram it, and rewire it, it's so much easier to then attract what you want and then step up to the plate to the new version of yourself over and over. And it's very, very fast and it's easy, which is conflicting with a lot of beliefs out there, is that you're going to be this way forever and it's really hard to change, which with these tools, it's very simple and very easy to change.
That gets me excited. Where do we sign up?
Help me.
Well, I'm excited to have you on in the class. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. So what are some tangible pieces of advice that you would give women specifically who want to become entrepreneurs and start their own business?
Just go out there and do it. And here's the thing. I think women, from my perspective, I think women, we tend to struggle with needing to be perfect. And so we end up not taking action, and we a lot of times fear failure, not always, but a lot of times, more than men. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what a man's point of view is. However, I do see with women struggle with self-doubt, feeling like imposters, getting in the feedback loop of perfectionism, and then afraid of making mistakes. And so in order to be an entrepreneur, you got to change your thinking that the more mistakes that you make, the more successful you are. In fact, going out and falling on your face, I do it all the time. I go out, I sometimes have marbles in my mouth, I F up, I put myself out there, I fail publicly many, many times. I even say in the training, by the way, we're not perfect. This is a messy training. I'm probably going to misspell stuff. We're going to all laugh about it. I'll probably stumble over my words at some point in time, and we'll have failure. The thing is that the reason why I'm successful is because I have chosen to fail more than most people. And that's it. Because every time that I fail, I learn. Here's the thing. When you knock it out of the park, you're like, oh, good, I got it. And so the learning doesn't happen the same way than if you fall on your face and then you look back, you reflect, and you learn, and you do something differently next time. And so every time that you fail, you get a new strategy, you become more confident, you become more self-aware, more flexible, and the small ego is dying, and the higher self, the true self of who you truly are, your authentic self, starts shining through. And so that's how you mature and how you grow and develop. In fact, perfectionism is hilarious because a lot of people think that being perfect is being this perfect thing. However, you look at it in the dictionary and look up the root of the word, it talks about maturity, which the only way you mature is by going out and learning by failure. So my best advice for somebody that's sitting here listening, just go out and, like, if you are not even doing a video or something, do something that you're totally out of your comfort zone and just launch it. That is the best way to grow through perfectionism, is just launch it.
What role does the subconscious mind play in daily life, and how can we change it to work for us?
Absolutely. So you're like a little sponge, 0 through 7. We also get programmed when we're in the womb. And we also have, from my perspective, and a lot of science to back this up, we get programmed through our generations, through our DNA. The genealogical timeline, we do a lot of timeline work, is the key to epigenetics. And then we also, 50% of the population believe in past lives. And so a lot of times you'll be carrying in, and not everybody believes this, but you'll be carrying in memories and contracts and stuff that's holding you back in this lifetime that's not even this lifetime. And so if you're just focusing on this lifetime, 0 through 7, you're a little unconscious mind that is absorbing everything in from your environment like a sponge, uncritically. So wherever you were 0 through 7 and in the womb, that environment is imprinted into your unconscious mind. And so then as you grow up and you're starting to then become a teenager, you're starting to get your own identity. A lot of times people then reject. They're like, I'm not going to be anything like my mom and dad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you either accept their ideology or you reject it. But by the time, and this is what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, by the time you're 35, that neurology has been solidified. And so the person is 95% running from a hardware program of the unconscious mind of their environment. And so when you set a goal, so 95% is controlling your behavior, your emotional reactions, your values, your belief systems, your skill sets, your habits. That's the 95% that's running you throughout the day to day. And most people are out in some other planet and they're just letting this unconscious mind run. And it's not that your unconscious mind doesn't want you to create success in your life. It's just that you've had a really bad trainer a lot of times. The metaphor is kind of like you have this beautiful Arabian horse that has a lot of bad programming, and it's bucking you off, it's biting, it's kicking, all these things. But the trainer that trained it from when it was a little baby didn't know what that person was doing, and their trainer's trainer didn't know what they were doing, and their trainer. So it's like a genealogical trainer that was teaching this horse to be a bad behavior. It's not the horse's fault. And is it the trainer's fault? No, the trainer's trainer didn't know what they were doing either. And so we are all programmed from a lot of constructs that are not ours, and we're showing up and then we're not creating the life that we want, and we wonder why. It's become all of our unconscious programming, and we can reprogram all that. 100% of our beliefs, unless you've been doing belief change work, are not ours. Think about that. 100% of our beliefs are not ours unless you've done a belief change work, because you've been indoctrinated from your environment.
And that's so relevant to right now with everything going on, with the C word and politics and all of that.
Yeah. And maybe it's not 100%, but like I would say like 95%, unless people have been consciously aware. Even when you're rejecting your upbringing, a lot of times people are like, I'm not going to do any of that, but they're not consciously aware of what they're choosing, versus looking at all sides of it and then making a decision of what works for me versus what are all these things telling me what to do, and am I rejecting it because that's really what I want. And so we see this in our chaos, and we're just reacting machines based upon a belief system that are not even ours. So this is what we do. We break down the constructs of where these beliefs came from. And do you really buy into that model of the world, and what really works for you? And so then figuring out why you're here in this planet, and like what you're really meant to be doing, what is your natural talent versus what has been told to you. Because a lot of people, I mean, this is why people get in the corporate, they go and they get a job, they go to school because they've been told, then they start a family, and then they make this money, and then they're like, I'm not happy. I don't even know who I am. And they have the midlife crisis because they've been sold this is what you do to be happy, but that's not who they are.
Yeah.
So many people probably.
Oh yeah, which is awesome, because then we wake up. The interesting thing about COVID is that, I'm so grateful. I know there's a lot of people that have been hurt by this situation, but from a bigger picture level, what it's done for us is that it's put a pause button for people to truly look in the mirror and ask themselves, what do they want? Because people have been totally unconscious.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It did that for me, for sure, where I just became aware of programming in general. Just realizing, because we were just hit over the head with messaging of all sorts, and just realizing that the messaging that comes from mainstream media isn't necessarily aligned with the truth. And then, yeah, it set off, it made me go down rabbit holes into like creating an organic garden and like things like that. Like, it's funny where the ideas it sparked. I was like, oh, I can take on more responsibility. Like, that's where my mind went, and it was kind of exciting.
Absolutely. Like getting off the system. And why do we need the system in general? And it's not all systems are necessarily bad, but like really thinking about what really truly works for you and your own sovereignty.
What is it like owning a business with your partner?
Well, it's amazing, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Sometimes it's a challenge because you work together, you eat together, you sleep together, and we're together a lot. And so, in the beginning of our relationship, we had a lot of struggles because I was coming from a background, he was coming from a background, and we had a lot of reprogramming to do in order to get on the same page to even be able to do what we do now. Honestly, we probably wouldn't be married or have a business if it wasn't for the work that we do and consistently doing the work. And so if I'm going to say that every single day is bliss and orgasmic experiences, which we do have, and it is a lot of effort that we put into our relationship. We put a lot of time into our relationship, and we also put a lot of time into the business, and we make sure that we are doing a lot of self-care, and we're still making time to have that intimacy and to do dates. And sometimes we've gotten unconscious because there were other priorities in the business that would take precedent, and then our relationship would suffer. And so we had to then reevaluate what's important. So it's always like this balancing act. There really isn't truly ever balance with us. We're always putting more energy and tension in one thing, and then we counteract and balance. It's like rest and renewal kind of thing. And it's amazing because I get to share some of the most, I get to spend all the time with him. Like being on stage with him, it's so freaking awesome to be able to coach with him, to see his brilliant mind. I literally can hear his words in my head when we're training together. It's an incredible experience. And to be able to work with his brilliant mind is so awesome. And to watch him grow alongside with me and hold my ass accountable.
Do you teach manifestation, and is it different from the widely known law of attraction?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the modalities that we do is called quantum time manifestation. It's actually how I manifested all of my life. Um, it's a goal setting process that 10x's like puts it on steroids of your manifestation. The difference of like the secret or the other manifestation processes, we're really, really big on doing the inner game unconscious work to then align and fine tune your unconscious mind to vibrate in the same vibration frequency to then attract the match of that, the thing that you want to create. And a lot of times people do not, they'll do like, oh, I'm feeling, I'm meditating on being happy, but then 95% throughout the day, their thoughts are not aligned, their actions aren't aligned, and their words, their linguistics of how they talk to themselves are not aligned. And so we teach how to then reprogram all that. And we also teach how to do inspired action versus action because you have to, because there's a difference between the frequency of inspiration and desire versus needing to do it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of science behind what we do in the manifestation. And honestly, everything that we have created for ourselves, whether it be a ranch where we're going to do retreats, to properties all over the United States, to, opportunities we've had in our business, to him and I manifesting each other, we've done this process with.
I don't know if you guys do this at all, but people can use psychedelics as an aid to help them to kind of like rewire that subconscious and stuff. Is that something that you feel is necessary, or can anybody do it that, just from their own level without having anything like that aid in the process?
I think from my perspective, psychedelics is just a tool. And this is another tool. The thing that I love about this tool specifically is that you don't need anything outside of yourself in order to get transformation. My personal transformation that I've had, it's kind of funny, because we have a lot of people that are in the plant medicine space that use these tools with that are doing the coaching ahead of time and then after for integration. And the thing is that you can create a psychedelic space inside the mind with trance. You can remove that critical faculty, which is getting in the way of getting to the unconscious mind, through trance. Our bodies can actually have that experience just by itself with the right tools and the right environment and the right facilitator. And the person doesn't actually need to be facilitated. You can do all these modalities on your own, which is really, really cool. And so I think it's just another tool.
What were some key components that helped you guys become successful in the business that you have right now?
I think for me, personally, and Brandon's, he has his own model of the world. Once I had that transformational experience in level 1 of the Elite Coaching Academy, of walking away from like over 16 years of drug addiction and the stuff that I was using. I mean, just give you a frame of what I was using, and everybody on this call, on this podcast, is free of this. But I was using Xanax, Adderall, Oxycontins, Loratabs, smoking meth, and drinking a fifth a day. And I had been on something for ever since I was 13, practically. I mean, it was just a way of being, doing, and having. I didn't feel like I could breathe if I wasn't on some sort of substance. And being able to walk away from that and have no desire, that like nagging part of me that like could not like function without substance, be able to walk away from that and have no withdrawals, cutting it off cold turkey, it was a miracle for me. And so once that happened, I didn't know what it looked like. I just knew that this was the path for me. I had to do a lot of work around my confidence and being able to go out and communicate with people, because I was afraid of people and all the things, and like to create a business. It was like very, very baby steps for me in the beginning. But I knew that I was meant to be doing this work. So every time, like I said before, that I would fail, it didn't matter about the failure. I knew that it was a spiritual evolutionary process for me, and I had a lot of humility. And so I was willing to do the work. I was willing to put in the time. I was willing to fail over and over again, because it's not about me. It's about the bigger picture of humanity, but it's also about my own spiritual evolution. So it was a win-win for me. And so when most people would have given up, we kept going. Most people would have leaned out. We kept going, because I believe in this mission, and I believe that this work needs to be in every organization around the world. I believe it's our human right to learn these tools should we want to. And I want it to be available to everybody that wants to learn it, because it's teaching people how their mind and body work. We don't get that in school. And I think that a lot of the problems we'd have in this world would be diminished and dissolved very, very quickly if we all had freedom inside. And so finding that mission and purpose for you and doing whatever it takes with relentless persistence and not caring about failure and just getting up and doing it again because you love what you do so very, very much is essential for entrepreneurship. Having a bigger mission beyond yourself.
Can women focus on having a career and manifest family and love at the same time?
Absolutely. I don't have children. However, I do have a lot of students that have found their love. We have one that right now that she manifested one of her goals in the training was she was already an entrepreneur, a mother, I think, of 3. And she wanted to have a lifestyle where she travels all around the world and has her business and builds her business and creates success in helping women. And one of her goals in the training was to attract her love of her life and have a bigger family. And she's doing that now very successfully. It's just what are you willing to believe that is possible for yourself? Because we're only limited by our limiting beliefs.
Exactly. No, that's so true. I've spent so long focusing on career. I'm work in TV production, and it's like a very consuming career, and it's very fun and rewarding. But I spent like all my 20s working my butt off and being competitive and wanting to just entertain everybody and forgetting about myself or nurturing. Like I had loving relationships, but I didn't nurture them in the way that because of my programming and I'm sitting here in my 30s kind of wanting this love and this after accomplishing everything that I thought I couldn't, and I'm there with that, so I'm just trying to focus on that part, the love part, and but you have to put yourself in a position to accept love too, because I've also realized I've pushed it away at times. So
yeah, and also being an open, like being in enough periphery of actually seeing the opportunity when it comes to your door. Because if you're only focused on your career and you're saying, if you're telling the story of like, I don't have time to find the love of my life right now, the universe is listening, right? And so like changing your language, I can have my career, I can have my family, I can have the love of my life, great sex, whatever is important to you. I can have it all and more. And I'm open to receiving it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. Mm-hmm. So how do you create balance in your life?
A lot of self-care and a lot of self-care. Because I think with us, we tend to be on the doing action side. So we have, like I said, we have a ranch property that's 2 hours outside of Austin. So one of the things that's very important to both of us is we go really, really hard, and we're out and about, we're connecting, we're doing a lot of work, we do virtual stuff, and we work long, long hours, which we love. We are filled up by it. So we do biohacking before and after the training and during the months like when we're like hitting it hard, and then afterwards we go and retreat and we become hermits and recluse, and we do a lot of self-care, intimacy time. We also schedule dream trips to where we're always going somewhere. We have something that like is the beautiful thing at the end of the putting your effort into something to building it. And so we reward ourselves and we celebrate the wins. A lot of times I think entrepreneurs, you just go, 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 and then you're on to the next goal and you don't stop and pause and really celebrate your success and look back at all the great things that you've done, and really having that time with the people that you love. Maybe it's even yourself. And really celebrating that is very, very important. And so that's how we create balance. And like I said before, balance is an illusion. You'll never truly have balance because you're going to be going on one thing, and then the other one is going to lose energy, and then you'll bring that other thing up and giving it more energy, and the other one will lose energy. And that's okay. Being okay with that and not beating yourself up like, oh my gosh, my life is falling apart in the relationship, whenever you're like, no, we're like doing a launch right now. Everything, this is focus time, and now whenever we're done with this, we're going to really focus on the relationship. And so like being flexible to shift and move arenas of life according to what is the goal and the intention in the moment. and know that you're going to make sure that everything's taken care of in the right time, in the right space. Yeah, it's a dance. Yeah, it's a dance.
How can you be a good salesman or salesperson while staying true to your mission in life?
So, and it's so interesting. So the word salesman or salesperson in general, when we put it up on the board in our training, people have all this stuff that comes up like sleazy, manipulative, commission breath, only in it for the money, like wanting to do something to that person and without integrity, all that stuff, those stories. And so it's really asking yourself, what are the stories that you have around sales? Are you happy to sell your services? And is there stuff that's getting in the way of it? Because here's the thing, like tying this back to my story, those two people in my life hadn't sold me into their training, but it's more than that. They sold me into my future. They sold me into my success. They sold me out of the prison that I was living in, the bars that I could not see beyond because of all my stuff. They sold me into a new way of being, doing, and having. And they were the facilitators of that transformation. That I say sales is a spiritual process, because when you're activating, inspiring, and leading somebody into the next step of their life, that is a spiritual transaction, especially when they invest their money to have that transformation. And so we got to get our mind out of that thinking around sales, because everything in this world is a product of an idea that then the person then communicated and articulated to another person, educated them on the idea, and then there was some sort of transaction of energy that then created it. Even you and I on this call, our mom or dad, most likely, unless it's a product of a different type of transaction, sold the other person to having sex with you or having sex with the other person. And that's how you were born. So everything in this world is because of sales. And so why are we so stuck on it being something bad versus being something amazing and a process of service and education and transformation and excitement and a pleasurable, luxurious experience? And when we change that, then there's no limit to what we can do in the world. The most successful people that you see in the world are really, really good at selling what they do. And if you're not identifying yourself with a salesperson, here's the thing. If you have kids, if you have a spouse, if you're a teacher, if you have a brother or sister, if you have a mom or dad, you are in sales of getting them on the same page with you. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that's a really great way of putting it.
Yeah, no, and I was going to say, I think Michelle was saying something about like changing your relationship with money and realizing it's just an exchange of energy, which is what you were kind of saying. Like, it's just an energy thing, and also when you get more of it, more energy, you get to do more of what you like to do and helping more people. So it's just kind of expands the service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to do another episode with you and your husband together for the next time. For now, can you tell everybody where they can find you, and how they would get to the trainings and all of that?
Absolutely. So we created the Profit Accelerator because one of the things that we noticed in my own personal journey, but also with other people, is that we have these amazing entrepreneurs that have this amazing product or service to sell to the world, to change the world, and yet they are holding themselves back from sales blocks, just like I was saying, as well as money blocks. And so what the Profit Accelerator does is it allows people to become aware and let go of anything that's holding you back from putting yourself out there, whether it be on a video, on stage, or in a one-on-one environment. You're going to learn some of the most powerful tools of how to communicate effectively, to understand the psychology behind sales, and also the constructs of where all these money blocks and sales blocks came from in the first place, to where then you can be a better leader, you can influence, and you can motivate people to then take the next step in their life. And so the way to find it, we're doing a special for your listeners only. It's called theprofitaccelerator.com. And then the code is, I just had the special code up. Yeah, RNP. Yeah, RNP, all caps. And what that does is takes $100 off the price. So it's a $1,000 training, and right now you can get it for $195, though you will get it for $97. And so whenever you're ready, and by the way, we have one every quarter. And so if you're listening to this later on, we're always doing these profit accelerators, and you'll get to meet Brandon and I, and you're gonna have lots of fun and lots of transformation, and you can get that $100 off. So come check us out. We'd love to see you. I know that y'all are going to be there too, next one.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
And it's coming up in May. So this next one is coming up in May. So just again, the code is RNP. I think I said MP. So RNP, all capitalized. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be on.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. Bye-bye.